His breath is hot and wet against the side of her neck. I'm just imagining. When something's swollen on your body, it ain't nice, is it? It just feels... If that happened to me, I think my wife would be so annoyed at the fact that I'd burnt the curtains down. I absolutely despise spicy scenes, so I thought I'd read Fourth Wing. I know, why would a spice hater read a romantasy? Well, I do love fantasy, and I do love dragons, so I was left wondering, can a spice hater love Fourth Wing? I guess we're gonna find out. Oh, and before we start, this video is chock full of spoilers. Right. I better crack it open, I suppose. To be starting off with, there is only a little bit of a notion that there's going to be any kind of smut-related things, with a couple of innuendos being dropped between characters and a few references of the fact that the writers like to, you know, do it with as many people as possible because they might die any day. But other than that, there's not been any major references to it. What I really want to focus on is the main character, Violet, who I actually really like. I find her really intriguing, and from the off she's kind of the underdog, and by giving her the underdog status, I do believe we are instantly drawn to the character. I have got a few nitpicks to do with that. While we are told and we are shown these characters like her sister and her mother and this Dane guy who are all like, whoa, she's way too weak to be able to do that, why is she doing that? I imagine there's some kind of illness that they're alluding to or something, but there's no actual description as to what that illness is, so I find it difficult to understand what it is that she struggles with, and without that specificity, I can't fully root for the fact that she's an underdog, although the fact that everyone was kind of doubting her was something that really drew me to her, because she was, you know, she's determined to do it. Her mum is kind of the worst mum ever, because she had a future ahead of her and she was just going to be reading books for the rest of her life, which quite frankly sounds like an amazing future. And her mum was all like, nah, the family pride, you gotta go and risk yourself in a process that, from what is said, a lot of people do not come out of this, and a lot of people who don't have whatever Violet has to hold them back either. So really, she's putting her daughter in jeopardy. She's almost certain that her daughter won't come out of this. Almost certain. Because, you know, there's kind of no way she would be able to survive, or there's no way for her to know that her daughter will survive. So her mum kind of sucks. Her sister cares a lot about her, puts herself out there, and gives her all the things that she's going to need to be able to survive this horrible climb, which, again, I don't know, I didn't really feel the jeopardy of the climb at first. It was kind of like, I don't really get it. I was finding it difficult to picture. It could be a me problem, but as they were kind of going up this parapet... Hold it! Yeah, this one's my bad. You're going to hear me talking about a climb, because I thought a parapet was a big wall, when this is what a parapet looks like. Yeah. So if you want to let me know in the comments what a dum-dum I am, and now we can collectively laugh at my stupidity, on with the video. At first, it was kind of like, I don't know what the point is. Obviously, she gives this girl Rhiannon her boot, one of her boots, to help her out. There's no real reason for that either. I don't know, she just sort of was like, I've been told not to trust anybody, but I'm just going to help this random person here. Because alliances, but we don't know whether she's worth being in an alliance with. But either way, she does anyway, and that is kind of cool, and also becomes something that Dane is like, it's kind of impressive that you made your way up the parapet with only one boot that could actually get good grip. But my only downside to that, and another nitpick, is that I wish we'd have seen that be something that holds her back. Like, there was other stuff that happened on the parapet, like you had Dylan fall, and that was like, oh, he's dead, he's gone, just another number, bye-bye, Dylan. And then you had that random psycho Jack, who I have no idea why, but Jack wants to kill Violet. Yeah, I don't know why, but he does. And I don't know if that's going to be explained later on, or it's to do with heritage, but then I think about the poor young boy who he just literally just threw off the parapet for no reason. And him climbing up really quickly, saying he's gonna kill Violet. I'm not gonna lie, it did make me feel a bit freaked out. I was like, please climb faster, this is not good. This guy is absolutely crazy. And they didn't really come to anything in the end. And I know we're only 3 chapters in, and no doubt Jack isn't done with his work of trying to murder Violet for no reason. Maybe there's a reason, we'll find out. But yeah, I will say that the thing that I really wish we'd have seen is when she gave her boot away, I would have loved to have seen what the repercussions of that were, and I would love to have seen her use her smarts to be able to continue the climb despite a problem. So Jack's coming up after her, she's struggling to get her foot in, and then she figures something really cool out. To me, that would have probably been a bit more of a stronger moment and made the decision to give the boot away have some kind of impact, even though right now it probably will. I mean, it has the impact of maybe, I imagine, her and Rhiannon being friends in the future. But yeah, I think that could have probably done better. And then when Dane was like, right, we're sending you back, even though it's really impressive, because you climbed the parapet with a boot that had grip and a boot that didn't, and you are, like, hampered compared to all the other people. So, I don't know, maybe she does have a good chance of surviving all of this. But either way, yeah, that is a bit of a nitpick. I do think opening in such a cool place has been good. There is one trope that I really don't like, and I'm kind of mentally preparing myself for this trope. I knew when I was getting into Fourth Wing that it was going to have this trope, and I overlooked it a little bit, and I want to see whether I can overlook it and maybe get through it, and that is Magic Academy. Magic Academy is just a trope that I can't relate to it anymore. I just can't relate to it, and I'm wondering if this particular book, I know it's not technically a Magic Academy, but it kind of is, because, you know, isn't it training them to, like be part of the military and ride dragons? It sounds pretty Magic Academy to me, but either way, I don't really like the academy trope. But I'm going to see whether this one changes my thought process on that, and I am kind of just accepting that that is something that is going to happen during this. I kind of jumped on because I was looking forward to dragons, and so far, you know, I like the idea of the dragons, I like the idea of the magic system. This book is looking good. Oh, and then we met Xaden. I guess everyone's waiting for me to talk about Xaden, and I've not even got around to that bit yet. Yeah, he was hot, according to the book. He was very, very hot. Very good looking, Xaden. But she's also interested in Dane. So, I don't know. Dane, Xaden, whatever he's called. Yeah, they're both kind of they're good looking guys, you know? And Xaden, really, the information that we've got on him is that he was the child of a person who started a rebellion. And there's kind of been hints that he wants to kill her, but I believe he's just playing with her, and he's just kind of like being playful and bantering a little bit, like, I don't have to kill you, the parapet will. And like, you know, there's no explanation as to why she was going to be in Dane's team, and then she swapped over to Xaden's, and now Xaden is in charge. I did later work out that they were on the same team, so she was always on Xaden's team. Just wanted to point that out. So the worst possible thing, you know, we shouldn't be going near him according to the sister, and now we are forced to go near him. We've got no choice. I don't really have any opinions on him yet. I think he's all right. He's just sort of like, she likes the look of him. She's obviously been warned to stay away from him. I don't think he's going to be as bad as everyone's making out. I think, you know, he's getting a bad rap for something his dad probably did. But we're going to find out. Either way, I know there's a lot of people out there who read fantasy who go into this book like, oh, it's a romantasy. It's like, yeah, but I knew that I was signing up to a romantasy. So I'm not going to go into this book wanting to hate it. I'm going to go into this book wanting to love it. I want to enjoy something completely different to what I've tried. So let's see if my positive attitude can make me pull through. I've just hit page 114, and it has been one hell of 114 pages. There's still the overhanging problem that I don't know what is wrong with Violet. I just know that she's just not as strong as anyone else for a reason that definitely exists. But they just don't want to tell you. They don't want to tell you what that illness is and why she's not worthy of this. She is a very good main character, though. That aside, with the lack of specificity, there is definitely something about her that I am absolutely rooting for, and it's very fun to kind of watch as she's starting to come into her own. She's started to do the thing where she starts poisoning people and then winning in the fights, which is really cool. Obviously, she had that really bad moment with Imogen where she was pretty much ripped to shreds, and that just didn't go very well. I really like the fact that we've had a little moment with Xaden. No idea what's going on there. They're about to have a sparring match. I don't know where that's going to go. But what I really like about her meeting with Xaden when she saw all the rebels meeting up is the fact that she didn't want to say anything because they're just getting together and helping each other, and she saw something good in that. And I really like that. I also like the fact that while we're told that Xaden hates Violet, there's no actual proof that he does hate Violet, and actually a lot of the stuff is hearsay, and a lot of the stuff is expectations of him, so no idea what his actual thought process is, but judging by the conversation that they had when he found her spying on them, and the fact that he let her live, it clearly shows me that he's not actually as bad as they are making out, and I find that very interesting. Also, he's part of the rebellion, and all the people that he cares about are part of the rebellion. And in my experience of watching things like Star Wars, rebellions aren't actually that bad. Usually the rebels are actually quite good, and in this situation, I'm starting to wonder whether they are actually the good ones, whether the rebellion knows something that we don't know, and that maybe, just maybe, Violet might join the rebellion side of things. There's also some dodgy stuff that I have noticed going on, and it's a really tiny hint. I have no idea if it's leading anywhere or whether I meant to think this, but there is a weird mystery about the way that Brennan, her brother, died. Why did he go and then his dragon went to save him despite knowing that Brennan was probably already burnt out and dead? To me, that is hinting that something more is going on. I'm wondering whether Brennan is potentially not dead. I don't know. I always feel this way when a character is dead. I always think, is that character maybe not dead? And that we're being spoon-fed this story that is absolutely not true. I don't know. We will find out as I read a little bit more. I really like the scene when Violet receives her brother's journal. I like that wisdom has been passed down from her sister now to her, and it gives you an idea as to the type of personality that he was without ever actually having to introduce you to him, which is another reason why I'm thinking, will he be in it later on? The only thing that's really getting me is Jack. I don't understand. What is that guy's problem? Why is he so obsessed with killing people? What is wrong with him? Why does he want to take Violet out so much? I was actually smiling at the moment that she threw her daggers at him, and he literally looked like he was gonna poo himself. And I'm so glad that she did that, because it's about time that he started to realize that no, you do not do that. You don't go around threatening to kill anybody. Like, I can understand if, like, Xaden was being like that, or any of the rebels for that matter, or like, you know, her mom killed our parents. That makes sense. Like, I can understand their hatred, but I also really liked, actually, that does bring me on to another note, that one of them, I think his name was Gale, was all like, well, we can't blame her for what her mom did, because that's kind of what they did to us, so we're kind of doing the exact same thing to them. And I really enjoyed that there was at least one character that was pointing out that she isn't actually that bad because she's not her mom, just like we're not our parents. So I thought that was really quite cool. One last theory before I dive back into the book is they were talking about this black dragon that was super, super duper powerful, and Jack was all like, yeah, I want to ride that bad boy. And I think, I'm going to put it out there, it's a bit of a random theory, but I think that Violet is going to bond with that dragon, and I know the dragon isn't actually up for bonding with anyone this year, but I reckon whatever goes down during the threshing will make that dragon be like, I don't mind teaming up with that one, and I believe she will team up with the black dragon. I have no idea why. I think when a dragon does team up with her, because obviously it's going to happen, I think they will be attracted to her smarts and the way she thinks things through, and the way that she kind of has a potential to be a leader compared to the majority of them that just want to be like cold-blooded killers or just want to ride a dragon for fun. She's got leadership in her blood, and the fact that she was a scribe as well on the lead up kind of gives her an edge over the majority of them that are preparing for this, because none of them are going to be able to think the way she can. So I'm really excited to see what happens there, but I do believe it is going to be that black dragon that they were talking about, the one with the morning star tail. Don't know what its name is. I don't know if we're meant to know what its name is, but either way, I'm putting that out there as a theory. I will be back in another 100 pages to tell you what I think, and if I've actually got anything right, maybe I will, maybe I won't, we'll see. I'll be totally honest, I was meant to give you an update when I got to page 200, but I am now on page 322, because this has been a book that I've actually really struggled to put down, and it's been a joy to get this far. I've got a lot of thoughts on said book. The actual readability of the book is very high. The prose kind of like drags me in. I really like first person present tense. It kind of really puts me in the middle of the action. There's a lot of cool stuff that I will get into, but before I get into like the happy stuff, the good stuff, I want to talk about some of the bad stuff, some of the stuff that, you know, this thing's not really doing an amazing job of, but I'm wondering whether I actually care whether it is or not. And I wanted to kind of get around that first. So to start off, right, first of all, it's Jack Barlow as a character is kind of one note. And I've got a real problem with that. I want to kind of know why he hates her. And it doesn't have to be that he's part of some rebellion. Even like with Draco Malfoy, for example, because this is what he is. He's Draco Malfoy on steroids, isn't he? Let's face it. He's like Draco Malfoy if he was like an even worse person than he is in Book One. But with Jack, he just kind of hates her for no reason. Like, has no reason at all. Just sort of like chooses that he hates her, and that's it. There's no like, this is my reason. There's no reason to hate her. Xaden has a reason to hate her. Imogen has a reason to hate her. Anybody who is a rebel has a reason to hate her. But Jack Barlow does not. And maybe that's revealed later on. So I will hold judgment based on that. But at the minute, that character is so one note that it really removes any care that I have for that character. And when I say care, I don't mean like care as in love. I care about them. I mean like, I am indifferent to that character. I know that there's no way that he's going to kill Violet, and I know that he's in over his head, and yeah, it will probably be fun when someone puts him in his place. I'm looking for more nuance, you know? And there is nuance. Some characters do have nuance. Xaden, in my opinion, has been put together in such a clever way to the point where, like, I was kind of expecting him to be borderline abusive and problematic based on what I've heard of Romantasies in the past. I don't think he is. At this point, I believe he is quite respectable, and that there was the scene, in the scene I'm about to talk about, I somehow brush over horny dragons. The scene where the dragons are out there somewhere having a good time, and it pretty much becomes an aphrodisiac for Violet. She sees Liam and she's like, gimme some. It's a strange concept, but they're connected, I accept that. I can dig it. Sort of. Probably. When they were kissing, for the first time, and he was like, nah, this is not a good idea. We're both connected to our dragons right now. Who knows where this could go, and I want to be responsible. And I appreciate him for that, because I was going to go in on that. I was going to be like, if that was the first time that they, you know, did the thing, I would be like, well, okay, what are they doing? That's not right. He's literally just said that she can't consent, and now he's just, yeah, but he didn't. He didn't do that. He made the right choice. I was waiting for him to make the wrong one. He didn't, so that's on me for expecting that of him. Yeah, I think that's the main problem, and that's it, really. There's no real major issue with this book, if I'm totally honest with you, other than the Magic Academy thing waning a little bit. Like, I don't really like Magic Academy because I like there to be a full overarching purpose, and her graduating is not enough of a purpose for me to be able... That's it, really. There's no real major issue with this book, if I'm totally honest with you, other than the Magic Academy thing waning a little bit. Like, I don't really like Magic Academy because I like there to be a full overarching purpose, and her graduating is not enough of a purpose for me to be able to be kind of addicted to it, whereas I want a full purpose. What are we trying to do? I know we're trying to join the war, but why are we trying to join the war? Who is the big bad right now? I don't see any of that stuff. I do, however, hold my hands up and say that I know that what is probably carrying the point of the story I'm currently reading is the fact that there is a romance arc as well, and we are sort of moving closer to Xaden. There is always something moving. It's a much quicker book than most Magic Academy books, in my experience. You know, they say we're working up to something and you get to that thing. Like the threshing was talked about, they did the threshing. And now they're talking about some spring thing where they win to go onto the battlefield or whatever. And I'll talk a bit more about that later on, but that hasn't been done yet. But I know they're going to be moving towards that, and I imagine it's going to be dealt with in the next couple of chapters. So the actual pace of the book's really good. I've been really enjoying the romance arc, and I genuinely think the whole forced proximity idea is really clever. It's really clever at this point. So I gotta say, like, hats off to Rebecca Yarros. This has been a very fun read so far, which gets me into the nitty-gritty. Let's talk about it, because I've been taking notes because I've not been able to record an update in like 2 days, and I've been really hooked on reading this book, and so just read more than the quota that I wanted to do. But let's go way back to like way before the threshing happened, and I know I made some predictions, and one of those predictions is half correct. So we'll get to that in a minute. But first of all, let's talk about Aurelie. Aurelie, chapter 10, I think it was. That death hit me. It hit me. It got me out of nowhere. I liked that Violet was starting to get to know people. Aurelie was one that I started to enjoy in that chapter. And then, unfortunately, she perished in that chapter. And that was brutal. And it was the first death that I saw where I was like, oh, that's not great. That's really suckish, actually. I liked that character and I kind of didn't want her to die. And she was looking forward to doing the gauntlet and then she died on the gauntlet. True irony. So that was sad. I found that really sad when that happened. And obviously it's really weird to think about that because everything pre-threshing is very different to everything post-threshing. Post-threshing, we've got so many interesting extras that I am really enjoying. One of the things that I'm really enjoying about this book is the dragons. I love the way the dragons are portrayed. I love that they have different colours, different sized tails. I think that's really cool, and I think it gives you the option to think to yourself, if I was in Fourth Wing, what would my dragon be? Now, I think that's a really clever addition to the book, and I genuinely am appreciating that. I'm appreciating the different types of dragons. And there was that one scene where they were all walking around in front of the dragons. And I had this crazy question arrive when I was watching, because I was thinking, you know, that they're all walking around to show these dragons that whether they are worthy. And then if the dragons don't deem them worthy, they can at any minute just blow fire on them and kill them instantly. And that's really brutal. And then, obviously, that happens to one of the characters who's walking ahead, who I've forgotten the name of now, because it's been a while. I do remember, however, I think her name was Luca. And Luca was quite nasty, and then she got killed, and that was more of a joke than the other guy. The other guy was like, oh my goodness, he's died. And then with her, it's like, oh, she's gone, she's gone. She's just not a nice person. So the dragons are like, yeah, no, don't want to be with her. Gone. But I do have a question about this, right? In Dragon Society, what if, you know, you're all gathered around, think about it from the dragon's point of view, you're all gathered around and you're watching them all kind of walk around in front of you, and you've got your eye on one of them and you're like, oh, they would be great for me, like, we'd be great together. And then all of a sudden, like, Jim down the line just decides to blow fire on them and kill them, and you're like, Jim, what are you doing? That was my one. I wanted to bond with that. What, you wanted to bond with that one? Yeah, Jim, that's the only one I wanted this year. Oh. Sorry, I just, they looked a bit weak, so I thought, you know, strength comes in all forms, mate. Killing my rider off like that. Well, they weren't your rider, were they? No, but they could have been. And now you've ruined what could have been a beautiful relationship, bonding between the two of us. I had, like, the best Signic power I was going to give them and everything, and you've just ruined the whole thing. So, yeah, I don't know, how does that even work? How do they know that it's okay to just completely kill a human? I wonder if they have a bit of discourse beforehand and they're like, hey, Jim, what do you reckon of that one? Shall we? What do you reckon? Not feeling it. Not feeling it? Shall we blow fire? Take him down? Yeah, go on then. Like, if that's how they do it, though, why didn't they see that with Jack? Why weren't they like, oh God, he looks like a right nightmare. Honestly, he just hates people for no reason. Why would we want to be with that? You know, maybe dragons just have that personality and they're like, yeah, I like a good psycho. We'll bond with that psycho. Which seems to have happened. So I'm wondering if dragons are going to go against dragons in this series. That would be an interesting twist. Dragons eventually fighting dragons. Surely it's going to happen. I'm going to put it out there that I think it will one day happen. I feel like it's sort of impossible for them not to do that. The other thing that I have noticed along the way, it's not necessarily a bad thing, it's just an observation, okay? Authors sometimes get obsessed with random words. I know, I do it myself all the time. It's so normal for you to just get hooked on one word and then you read through the manuscript and you've used the word a million times. My one recently was snapped. Everyone was snapping. Snap this, snap that. But it seems Rebecca Yarros' version of this is ripping. Everybody rips everything. I have just got a few examples here that I've written down. On page 219, Dane rips a sigh from his lips. And I can only imagine that sounding like this. Can you imagine having a dramatic scene? Like, you know, being all upset or something with Violet, and she's stressing you out, so you just go, Violet, I just can't with you. Nah, it just doesn't sound right. But then on page 231, Dane rips a hand through his hair. Careful, mate. You're going to take it out if you keep doing that. And don't worry, because that is not the only version of a rip. We also have, on page 320, an accusation rips from someone. I can't even do an example of that. But yes, Rebecca Yarros uses the word rips quite a lot. And at this point, I am thinking, how many more times can something be ripped in this book? It's what I want to know. It's one of the big questions. I don't think she intended it to be a question, but it has become one of the questions on my mind. Overall, though, page 320, I'm having a cracking time. And if you want something that's super easy to read and super fun, set in a very, understandable, accessible world, this is a great book for you. But I want to love this and I want to take it to the next level. So I'm going to keep reading the book. I'll come back to you, hopefully, when I've just passed over 400 pages because, I'm getting very addicted. It's very difficult not to read. All right, the day has come. Chapter 30. They are about to do the thing, and I thought for your viewing pleasure I would allow you to see my live reaction. I've decided that I'm going to use an audiobook from Spotify for this section so that I can help myself enjoy isn't the word I was looking for. Enhance? Not enhance. Enhance is not the word I was looking for either. Speed up the process. Yeah, speed up the process. And give you my honest and true thoughts about how I think and feel about the upcoming scenes. So I'm gonna just get these in. Alright, bracing myself, gonna press play. So she's currently drawing his bottom lip between hers and sucking before gently nipping him with my teeth. I'm just imagining. The thing is, I've got to appreciate what's going on here. At the end of the day, people have bought the book for this type of scene. And I suppose at the end of the day, it does sort of read like an accurate experience, and that, so far, for the most part. I don't think there's anything out of the ordinary. There are a couple of things here, like he lingers on a sensitive spot, taking his time. Just one very specific spot. And then he stills again, and his breath is hot and wet against the side of her neck. I don't want anything hot and wet on my neck. I mean, I know the tea is hot and wet, but I like the taste of it. I dig my nails into his shoulders, my back arching as he makes tighter and tighter circles around my swollen... That sounds really painful. Like, that's making me hurt. The word swollen, man, just makes me feel, do you know what I mean? Like, when something's swollen on your body, it ain't nice, is it? It just feels... Nah, it's just, I don't know, it's not doing it for me at all. This is making me feel a little bit inadequate, to be honest. It's hot and hard in my hand. That's just making me think of, like my mum and dad. Yeah, I know, right? My mum and dad, they go out sometimes, and my dad, he gets cold hands because he's got arthritis, and he has to have these hand warmers. That's all that's making me think of. Hot and hard in my hand as these little hand warmers that they hold. They're hot and they're hard. Oh god, if I had a pound for every time it said arch. Right, that's not what normally happens. Yeah, lightning whips through me, flashing so bright that my eyes slam shut, heat flares above me as thunder cracks immediately and I smell smoke. That would be awful. That would be a horrible experience. I hate the smell of bonfire. Can you imagine? Smell of bonfire, put you right off, wouldn't you? You'd just be, so... This is quite annoying. I wouldn't want this for me. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're in the middle of, like, a moment, and then you just shoot lightning. That does not sound convenient at all. Right, yeah, another one here, right. What is this? What is he doing here? Why is he doing this? This man kisses with his whole body, rolling his hips in time with the thrust of his tongue, bracing just enough of his weight so I can breathe while stroking his chest over my hypersensitive I'm sorry, but he reminds me of one of those guys, you know, when you're out having a party or something, there's always that one person in there that's a bit over enthusiastic, and they're on the floor and they're doing the worm. That's what this sounds like. It literally sounds like he's doing the worm. He kisses with his whole body, he's doing the worm while doing that. That doesn't sound like a good move, does it? It just sounds a bit... How is it even possible? Is it possible? This poor woman, I'm going to read some of this out. Jeez. It's come to the end. He laughs and rolls to the side, keeping me close and cushioning my head with his biceps. I sniff at the smoke in the air. Did I set the curtains on fire? He lifts a brow. Yes. If that happened to me, I think my wife would be so annoyed at the fact that I'd burnt the curtains down. Like, she would not want me to be constantly going out buying more curtains every time something goes on within the scene. I'll be honest with you, I think with these types of scenes, they don't really do it for me, but I think what I'm looking for really is, I'm looking for, how real is this? Like, how real and genuine is this? And as I'm not a woman, I can't say whether any of this is accurate or not. So I don't know why I chose to film this bit here when I've got Mickey and Minnie behind me the whole time. I've just thought about how awkward that is. I was wearing headphones, they can't hear anything, we're alright. But yeah, anyway, as I was saying. So yeah, I don't know how accurate it was, but I suppose I can understand why someone would want to read this, and if it's accurate, if it's kind of giving them memories of their own experiences, or giving them experiences that they've fantasized about having, or whatever it is, I don't know, right? That's fine, I can totally understand that. It's just when scenes take, when scenes take it to a place where it's not realistic, that's where those types of scenes are confusing. When spicy scenes take it to a place where it's not realistic, and you're like, that would never happen. What is that? And I think this one managed to mostly do that. Maybe it's just too perfect. I don't know. I don't think it is as perfect as that, really. And I don't know if I'm revealing a lot about myself here, but I don't know if it's as perfect as that. And I think that is the issue with spicy scenes in these types of books, is they set bars very high, and you can't jump over that bar, can you? It's not a bar. I can't do that. I can't do the worm while kissing. It's just not a skill I've got, So really, I don't like spicy scenes just because, like, I don't know, I'm in the moment and I feel like I'm intruding, if anything. I feel like I'm intruding on their moment. Like, this isn't my moment to enjoy. It's their moment. They should have it. And if they want to do it, cool, they can do it off the page. That's fine, because they definitely did it. They can do whatever they want off the page, but, when I'm on the page, I'm starting to, like, really hyper-analyse everything. I suppose it's a little bit like, if you're to do it, then it's different, isn't it? Because you're in the middle of it, you experiencing it. But then if you're just watching it, it's like just two bodies coming together, It's just a bit like, you're not in it, you're not seeing it. It's just two animals doing a thing, And I feel like that way about these types of spicy scenes where you're telling me all these things, but I'm just overanalyzing everything that they're doing. I'm not, like, into it. I appreciate that I'm not the target audience for this, and that, anyone who can relate to Violet in this situation, apart from, shooting lightning out of her and all that stuff, I can understand people would probably enjoy it. But yeah, I've got to say, as far as spicy scenes go, it's not swayed me, but I don't think it was a terrible spicy scene. I don't think it was badly written, and I don't think it took too many liberties, but there were one or two things that were a little bit like, okay, fair enough. Yeah. I've got 100 pages left of the book so far, and I gotta say, at this point, it's starting to lose my interest, and I really don't want it to, because there's been a lot of good stuff. I've told you the good stuff. But there's a couple of things that I want to talk about. I wanted to get to this point. Instead of just getting to the 400-page mark, I thought, well, if I get to the point where I've got 100 pages left, it's usually then that I'm expecting the book to start delivering a lot of intrigue and a lot of excitement, and I expect with a book that the last 100 pages is extremely challenging to put down, and I wanted to give it the benefit of the doubt, because around page 350 the book started to lose me, and I was really getting tempted to DNF, and I was getting kind of bored about what I was reading, actually, which was really sad to go from where we were at the threshing, and I was so excited, and there was so many awesome things that did happen along the way, to then get to a point where I was like, well, I don't really know where this story is going anymore. I've lost track. And I thought to myself, well, is that to do with the fact that this is a romantasy and really we're focusing on the romance right now and I should just be allowing it to have that time? But really, when I thought about it, I think my issue with it at the minute is the fact that there is no overriding promise. I don't actually know what I want Violet to accomplish by the end of this book, and that is a real problem on the fantasy side of things. I get it on the romance side of things, and you know what? It is a good romance. There's a really good romance between these two characters. I was expecting Xaden to be a really problematic character. He is not. He is a very good love interest, and, you know, I approve of the main character falling for him. So the romance side of this book is actually really good, and I don't want to drop the ball on that. I don't want you to be thinking that I'm going too hard saying, well, where's the fantasy elements? But it is called a romantasy, which means that there's got to be fantasy stuff that goes on. And the fantasy storyline, it's just kind of waning for me, and it's becoming very, very one note, which is a real issue, and I don't want it to become one note, because I want it to be really, really good, because there is a lot of stuff about this story that I actually really, really like, which I've already told you. So let's talk about where we got to. So my main issue is, and I said already that I don't really like the academic trope, and it's starting to grate on me a little bit. Because all that ever seems to happen is that there's one event, and then they do that event, and then they move on to the next event, and then they do the next event, and it's literally like every 20 to 30 pages, 40 pages, or whatever. There was the parapet, they did the parapet, and they went to the gauntlet, and then after the gauntlet, they did threshing, and then after the threshing, they did the spring game thing, and then there was the war game, and then there's always something else that's going on, but it's not really at a point anymore where I feel like I'm progressing. Like, way back at the gauntlet, I get it. She was, like, you know, growing, doing stuff. And then we had the threshing, and obviously that was a huge thing. But then everything after that, it's just been, okay, so get to the next thing, get to the next thing, get to the next thing. But what is the actual story here? What's the point? I don't get it. I am so confused. Other than the fact that, you know, she's attracted to Xaden, that, like I say, that side, it's handled very well. But I got to a point in the book where neither the romance or the fantasy were doing it for me. That's not good. We should be having at least one of those two doing something for me, because they are both the genres of the book itself. So I got to this point at page 350 where I just felt like we were having the same thing happen again and again. And then they went out to Montserrat, which is the name of my favourite font, by the way, and also the place they went. And, you know, that was interesting enough. We kind of got to see a bit of Myra, and we had a little bit of fun with that, I guess. And I don't know, I thought that something was going to happen when they took part in the war games and they broke into her mom's office. I was like, this is it. This is when they're going to discover something else is going on. I'm pretty sure it's been teased on the back of the book, in the blurb, that something else is going on. But there was nothing. There was like a little document thing that was like, oh, that's a little bit strange. But who cares about how strange that is, because we're doing the war games and we're going to win. And then that was it. And then after that, it was literally just, well, we're going off, we're seeing a little bit of what it's like out there, what the war is like, and what it's like to be riders out in the open and stuff. And that should probably be more interesting if I really understood what the war was about. I'm lacking a lot of context at this point. For example, we've never been told the exact name of Violet's disability, and that's okay, but we've also not really been told what the exact effects are of her having this disability. And I feel like if I knew what it was and what her weaknesses were, then I would be able to really relate to the concept a bit more. In the same way that if I was told what this war was actually about, like I know that they're having a war with something called the Venin, I'd be more interested in this section when she goes to see her sister. And like obviously seeing her like reunite with her sister was really cool, and seeing the way she's changed was really cool. I really like that. And again, she's passed on this book, which obviously has now become another moment where I was like, oh, something else is gonna happen. And then later on, she finds a little note, and it's her dad basically saying, be careful, there's something you need to know that I'm not going to tell you what it is. And it's like, why can't you just build more intrigue? I don't even know what I'm meant to be intrigued about, which is a real issue for me. The overall sort of build up to her and Xaden doing the thing that everyone's waiting for, it was all right. It did its job, and I liked the fact that we got this nice little moment where He told her where his scars came from. And I'm still not totally sure where everyone's getting at, because everyone's all like, you should understand about Xaden because, you know, he's not what you think he is. And apparently he's hiding something, and I'm sure we might find that out. But then there's the other thing is, in every book that I've ever read, or every story that I've ever read, there's a point where the main characters hit rock bottom. And I'm trying to figure out what that is in this book. And part of me thinks that it might be when they kill Jack. So when she kills Jack, she's like dead upset because she's got this power, right? And the power is like able to really hurt people, and she's scared of hurting people. And if you're gonna show that off, don't show it off with Jack. I've spent the entire book understanding that Jack is the one that's personality is built around the fact that he wants to murder Violet. And then he does something as nasty as try and kill Liam. And then she uses her powers and kills him. And it's a no-brainer for everybody who's reading to just be like, whatever, Jack, who cares? Who cares? I don't care about Jack. You don't care about Jack. Nobody gives Jack about Jack. I'll tell you that much. So to make this the moment where she's freaking out because she accidentally killed someone, wouldn't it have made more sense if she'd have kind of like, you know, accidentally hurt Liam in the blast while taking down Jack? And wouldn't that freak her out more? Because the thing is about Jack is he's literally been a one-dimensional character, and I've been waiting for the entire book to find out why he hated her so much. And there was literally no explanation, and I don't think there is going to be an explanation, which is really, really poor. Because why? Why did he want to kill her? Why was he just such a scumbag? And even if you didn't want to tell me why he was a scumbag, why are we feeling sorry for having killed him? I just don't get it. It would have been okay. What if she'd have seen him on the way to the parapet and she'd been with his family, with his brothers, with his sisters, whatever, with someone that cared about him? Maybe she'd be sparing a thought for that person that she saw back then, and that would have made more sense. But we didn't get any of that. It's just this guy had this personality. Quite frankly, the fact he survived as long as he bloody well did is absolutely amazing to me, because he absolutely did not deserve that. Like, because he was just a frustrating character, and whenever you saw him, you were like, I just don't like him. I just hate him because he's just not nice at all, but there's no explanation as to why. Anyway, that's my ramble about Jack. But to make that the worst point, it doesn't feel like much of a worst point, because frankly, what a badass. So she's basically Thor, and she's got 2 dragons. That's the coolest thing ever. So that's not the worst point. That's a pretty cool point, if you ask me. The other worst point that I think there is, meant to be, not worst point as in worst point in the book, but worst point as in what she's going through, is when she kind of says to Xaden, we can't do this because I'm falling for you, and if you don't want to fall for me, then we can't do this. I don't feel that bothered about that. Like, I suppose it's because I know they're going to get together, and that is the essence of romance, I guess. There's always going to be that setback, which is hard to believe because you know that they're going to get that happily ever after at the end. But ultimately, let's talk about the last 40 pages of the book. I couldn't really tell you what's happened in the last 40 pages. I think they did the thing, and then after that, she was like, I don't really want to do that again unless you want me, and then after that, not a lot, really. They've gone to this gala thing, whatever it is, they've gone to this party, Liam and her, and they've left early, and she wants to go and find Xaden, and I just don't know what is going on right now. I need that spark that is gonna, like, reignite my enjoyment of it. Okay, I really do think it's capable, and I feel like the next 100 pages might hold something. There's still part of me that thinks there's gotta be more to this than meets the eye right now. There's gotta be more. I'm missing something. Because the thing is, this book just got lost in all of the whole, like, storyline of the school stuff, right? It got lost in that. And I want to get out of that moment now. Graduation's 10 days away. Surely it's time for us to have whatever this other storyline is, whatever the dodgy business that is going on is. I need us to go into that, and I need it to be brilliant to make up for the fact that I have waited so long, and the fact that the only reason is that I've waited this long, other than the fact that I'm doing a vlog on this, but the fact that I'm waiting on this based on the fact that the blurb said it was gonna happen, and there's not been any hints as to what the blurb actually says coming to life, other than a document that I have no idea what it means. It's a bit weird that they're sending more reinforcements or something like that, I don't know, and a random cryptic note from her dad, neither of which add up to anything that makes me remotely intrigued. I am begging you, Fourth Wing, I want the outcome of this to be good. I am rooting for you right now. Please, in the next 100 pages, you gotta deliver. So that is where I'm at right now, with 100 pages left to go. I'll clock in when I've actually finished the book, and we'll see if it's changed my mind. Come on, change my mind, I'm rooting for you. I finished reading the book, and my relationship with it is complicated, to say the least. While I have to admit, it really gripped me and got me reading. There was a lull in the middle, and then the ending took so long to happen, and then the actual end itself has left me feeling extremely conflicted, because would I read this book again? Probably not. Though I am tempted to look at the details again, but I don't think I would. There's a lot of books out there that I want to read. I think this book relied way too heavily on the school system and the school events to pull it through. Really, when you look at something like Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, for example, which is the only academic book series that I've ever been able to actually get into, and I've never really been able to crack whether that's because I was the right age at the right time, but let's imagine that it is because the book's just better than this. There's always an underlying mystery that kind of pulls the story forward. And yes, there is the romance in this one, but even the romance had moments where it kind of was in a bit of a phase of just plateauing. And I think we needed a little bit more intrigue about the rebel twist at the end during those moments of plateauing. So we should have had the whole mystery about the rebels. What are they doing? Are they bad? Is Xaden working with them? We should have had a mystery like that going on at the same time as, will Violet fall in love with Xaden, and how will that relationship go? Instead, we just have the school at the forefront, along with the romance, and then at the end, in the last 60 pages or so, it's shoved in that the rebels are involved, that there is something completely different, and that the main enemy are the Venom that are taking out places like there's no tomorrow and it's being ignored. That conspiracy for me wasn't built up to very well, and unfortunately as a result, I feel like the ending suffers from feeling like it's from a completely different book. And while the ending is extremely cool, the Venom are also extremely cool. The moment where Liam dies is very sad. Like, there's a lot of good stuff there, but it's not enough to make me feel like the promise of this book was kept. The other thing that annoys me about this book is that you probably can't read this book as a standalone, right? I don't feel like I've finished this book. I feel like there's another part to this book, which will be Iron Flame, and I wonder whether Iron Flame will then have another part of that book, which will be Onyx Storm. Personally, I think in the first book, at the very least, like, I don't mind this in a second book, but in a first book, you should sort of be able to put it down even if there are threads left open, whereas this one, unfortunately, not only did it leave threads open, but it also didn't really finish the overall point of this book. Going back to Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, that book ends with him defeating that version of Voldemort. No, Voldemort is not defeated, and there is still a overhanging problem, but we do feel like we had some kind of satisfaction. You could argue that they did that in this book, but I don't agree, because I feel like I didn't even know that I wanted to see Violet take out a bunch of Venom and save a village. And I feel like I would have liked to have built up to that, even if the storyline was literally that the rebels were bad, that she could tell that rebels were trying to invade the school or something, and then she went to look and the rebels weren't, and it's pretty much the same twist from Harry Potter, but we turned the tables, and it turns out that the rebels are actually good, and that there is a bigger problem. Also, I don't feel like I learned enough about the Venom to really understand how bad they were. I feel like we could have seen or heard more about them. I know we vaguely heard about them and was like, they were part of this story or whatever, but I just don't think we ever really got enough on the Venom. Overall, I just feel like this book has left a slight sour taste in my mouth, because I just really wanted it to stick the landing, because actually I had a great time reading it, and I was quite lost in the world. Am I tempted to read Iron Flame? The answer is yes and no. So yes, because it does feel kind of like I have to continue going forward, otherwise the time invested in this book will have been a waste. I am curious to hear about Brennan and, the rebellious side. I have looked at spoiler-free reviews, and a lot of people have said that the politics got involved a lot more in that one, and that kind of put them off. which would do the opposite to me. I'm very interested in the idea of getting into the politics. The world in this book is awesome. I love the dragons. I loved all of that stuff. But I was really put off by the way that the plot kind of came to an end. So that leads us back to the question, can a spice hater love Fourth Wing? Well, funnily enough, the thing that I had wrong with this book actually wasn't anything to do with the spice. Yes, there were a couple of scenes that were a little bit saucy for my liking, but my actual problems, as you've already seen, did not come down to that. Would I read Iron Flame? There's a big part of me that wants to. There's a big part of me that feels like I need to continue now. Where this book leads off almost feels like the whole thing is a prologue anyway, and we need to move on to the next one. And if you're interested in seeing me read the next one, then do let me know in the comments, because I got a lot of other books that I'm currently prioritizing, but maybe if you want me to bump it up my TBR list, you let me know in the comments. If you've enjoyed this video, please don't forget to subscribe. Oh, and also, if you want to see me read the entire Witcher franchise to figure out whether it is worth the hype, then you can do so by checking out this video right here next. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a lovely day. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.